My family took holiday hosting for granted until I canceled and watched them implode. For 15 years, I was Martha Stewart meets Atlas for my family's holidays. Seriously, Thanksgiving, my house, Christmas, ditto, Easter brunch, 4th of July barbecue, even Labor Day and Memorial Day were automatically assumed to be at my place. And it wasn't just the location, it was everything. The planning, the cooking, the cleaning, all of it fell squarely on my shoulders. It started innocently enough. My parents lived out of state and my siblings were scattered across the city after college. I had the biggest house, and I actually secretly kind of enjoyed hosting back then. In my early 20s, playing hostess felt grown up. I loved creating a warm, festive atmosphere, seeing everyone gathered, laughing, enjoying themselves. I took pride in my perfectly roasted turkeys, my meticulously decorated Christmas trees, my effortlessly elegant Easter tablescapes. Naivety is a powerful drug, isn't it? The first few years were manageable. Everyone offered to bring something, which usually translated to a lukewarm bottle of wine or a store-bought dessert that someone picked up on the way over. Help with setup or cleanup? Rare as hen's teeth. But I didn't mind too much. I was young, energetic, and honestly, still basking in the glow of being the good daughter. The one who held the family together. Then, slowly, subtly, the dynamic shifted. The offers to bring something dwindled to nothing. The assumption that my house was Holiday HQ solidified into an unspoken rule, as immutable as gravity. And the workload? It ballooned. My family, bless their hearts, and sarcasm fully intended, are, let's just say, not naturally inclined to domestic duties. My older brother Mark considers microwaving popcorn a culinary triumph. My sister Sarah once set off the smoke alarm trying to boil water. My parents, well, they were always more of the supervisory type, full of opinions but short on actual elbow grease. So, it was me. Always me. I'd start prepping days in advance. Grocery shopping lists that stretched longer than CVS receipts, frantic trips to multiple stores because I'd inevitably forgotten some crucial ingredient, hours spent chopping, dicing, marinating, baking. My kitchen would transform into a chaotic war zone, flour dusting every surface, pots and pans overflowing the sink, the air thick with the mingled scents of a dozen different dishes, some promising, some less so. And while I was elbow deep in stuffing and cranberry sauce, where was everyone else? Usually, lounging in the living room, watching football, catching up, generally making merry. Occasionally, someone would wander into the kitchen, grab a snack, and offer a breezy, "Need any help?" It was never a serious offer, more of a conversational tick. If I actually said yes, could you please chop these onions, peel these potatoes, set the table, / literally anything that involves actual effort? They'd vanish faster than free donuts in a police station. The day of the holiday itself was always a marathon. Up at dawn to get the turkey in the oven, a flurry of last-minute cooking, setting up the buffet, arranging seating, trying to make the house look somewhat presentable despite the organized chaos that had taken over. And then, finally, they'd arrive. The cavalry. Except the cavalry expected to be served, not to serve. My parents would settle into their designated armchairs, immediately launching into critiques of my decor or menu choices. "Are you sure you put enough salt in the mashed potatoes, honey?" Mark would commandeer the remote and the best spot on the sofa. Sarah would flit around, offering air kisses and dramatic pronouncements about how stressed she was, usually about something utterly trivial. And me? I'd be buzzing around like a caffeinated hummingbird, refilling drinks, replenishing food platters, mediating minor sibling squabbles, all while trying to appear like I wasn't about to collapse from exhaustion. Dinner itself was always an event, not in a good way. My dad would inevitably launch into a political rant that would make even hardened news anchors cringe. Sarah would spend half the meal on her phone, live streaming snippets of the gathering to her Instagram followers, punctuated by loud, performative laughs. Mark would eat like he was auditioning for a competitive eating contest, piling his plate high and then complaining about being stuffed after dessert. And my mom, bless her heart again, would offer a running commentary on everyone's eating habits, weight, and general life choices. Meanwhile, I'd be frantically clearing plates, bringing out the next course, trying to keep the conversation from veering into nuclear territory, and silently praying for the sweet release of dishwashing oblivion. Because yes, the cleanup was also all me. After everyone had finally eaten their fill, watched their football, and thoroughly exhausted my meager supply of holiday cheer, they would leave, often with barely a cursory offer to help with dishes. "Oh, you don't have to do those tonight, honey. Just relax," my mom would chirp, heading for the door. Relax? The word felt like a cruel joke. So, I'd be left standing in the wreckage of the holiday, surrounded by mountains of dirty dishes, overflowing trash bags, and the lingering scent of burnt gravy and family dysfunction. I'd spend the next few hours scrubbing, sorting, and putting everything back in order, feeling less like Martha Stewart and more like Cinderella after the ball. Except without the charming prince, and definitely with more dishpan hands. Over the years, a quiet resentment had been simmering inside me, slowly reaching a rolling boil. It wasn't just the workload, though that was significant. It was the complete and utter lack of appreciation. The casual entitlement, the assumption that I would do it all, that I should do it all, that it was somehow my duty to single-handedly create these elaborate holiday extravaganzas for their benefit. And the worst part? When I actually timidly, tentatively asked for help, I was met with blank stares, disbelief, mild amusement. "Help? Honey, what help do you need? You're so good at this," my mom would say, as if hosting a holiday was some sort of magical, effortless talent I was born with, like spontaneously growing a third arm or speaking fluent dolphin. "Just tell us what to bring," Sarah would offer brightly, completely missing the point that bringing something was about 0.01% of the actual effort involved. Mark would just shrug and change the subject to sports. It was like talking to a wall, a very comfortable, well-fed, utterly oblivious wall. This year something snapped. Maybe it was the 15 years of accumulated gravy stains on my soul. Maybe it was the sheer audacity of my dad sending me a text in October that simply read, "Thanksgiving at your place again, right? Looking forward to it." No question mark, no please. Just a flat, declarative statement, like I was some sort of holiday vending machine dispensing festive cheer on demand. That text message was the straw that broke the camel's back, the final cherry on top of the resentment sundae. You get the picture. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over the reply button, and a slow, wicked smile began to spread across my face. This year, things were going to be different. I typed out a reply to my dad. "Actually, Dad, Thanksgiving isn't going to be at my place this year." And then, because I couldn't resist, I added, "I'm taking a year off from hosting. Figured someone else might want to give it a try." And then, just for good measure, I hit send and turned my phone off. Blissful silence followed, for about 5 minutes. Then, the phone started buzzing incessantly. First, a flurry of texts from Sarah. "Wait, what? No Thanksgiving at your place? But where are we gonna go?" Followed by a panicked voice message. "Seriously, call me back. What are we supposed to do for Thanksgiving?" Next, a more measured but equally bewildered call from my mom. "Honey, is everything okay? Why aren't you hosting Thanksgiving this year? Is something wrong?" Her voice was laced with genuine confusion, as if I'd announced I was planning to move to Mars and live in a hermetically sealed potato. And finally, a gruff, slightly irritated voicemail from Mark. "Hey, Thanksgiving? You're serious about not doing it because Mom's freaking out? Yeah, just call me back and tell me what's going on." I let them all stew for a few hours before turning my phone back on. The digital equivalent of letting a turkey brine overnight, you might say. When I finally responded, I kept it short and sweet. To the family group chat, I sent, "Yep, no Thanksgiving at my place this year. Been doing it for 15 years straight. Time for a break. Figure it out yourselves. Love you all." And then, I muted the chat and went to take a long, luxurious bath, feeling a sense of lightness. Freedom. Dare I say even joy? The fallout was predictable. Chaos, confusion, mild panic, and a whole lot of finger-pointing. The group chat exploded. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck in real time. Sarah, bless her dramatic soul, was the first to crack. "Okay, seriously, who is going to host? Mom and Dad's place is too small. Mark's apartment is a disaster zone, and I can't cook." Truer words were never spoken. Mark's response was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive avoidance. Guys, calm down. It's just Thanksgiving. We can just go out to eat? Or order takeout? Chinese food Thanksgiving? Anyone." Apparently, Mark's culinary horizons were limited to popcorn and General Tso's chicken. My mom, bless her supervisory heart, attempted to take charge but quickly realized she was out of her depth. Well, maybe Sarah, you could host. You have that nice dining room. Sarah's nice dining room was primarily used for storing clothes and unopened subscription boxes. Sarah's response was swift and brutal. Mom, are you kidding? Host? Me? Do you know how much work that is? I have like a million things going on at work right now. And besides, I don't even own a roasting pan. The conversation spiraled downwards from there, devolving into a blame fest of epic proportions. Each family member listed their reasons why they couldn't possibly host, why it was someone else's responsibility, why it was all my fault for blindsiding them with this sudden, unprecedented, utterly unreasonable decision to not do all the work myself for once. I watched it all unfold, muted notifications and all, occasionally peeking into the digital dumpster fire of my family's holiday meltdown. It was fascinating. Like watching a nature documentary about a particularly dysfunctional flock of birds trying to build a nest without any twigs, glue, or basic avian competence. As Thanksgiving Day loomed closer, the panic intensified. Desperate texts and calls started coming directly to me, pleading, begging, guilt-tripping. Honey, are you sure you won't reconsider? It's just not going to be the same without Thanksgiving at your place. Mom, deploying the emotional manipulation bazooka. Seriously, I'll help. I'll bring like 3 bottles of really good wine, and I'll even load the dishwasher afterwards. Mark, in a desperate attempt to barter his way out of actual labor. This is so unfair. You know how much Thanksgiving means to Dad. You're gonna ruin the whole holiday. Sarah, predictably playing the victim card. I held firm. My resolve, hardened by 15 years of holiday hosting martyrdom, was unshakable. I politely but firmly reiterated my decision. No, I wasn't hosting. No, I wouldn't reconsider. Yes, they were adults and perfectly capable of figuring it out themselves. And no, I wasn't going to tell them what to do. Thanksgiving Day arrived, and I relaxed. For the first time in 15 years, I woke up on Thanksgiving morning with absolutely no agenda, no frantic cooking schedule, no impending sense of holiday-induced doom. I made myself a leisurely cup of coffee, put on some music, and just enjoyed the quiet, the peace, the utter lack of responsibility. Later in the day, I received a slightly pathetic, slightly grudging, but ultimately appreciative text from my mom. We ended up ordering Thanksgiving dinner from that fancy restaurant downtown. It was okay. Not as good as yours, of course, but okay. And Mark actually helped set the table. Sort of. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving, honey. Maybe we can do something different next year? Maybe, I replied with a small satisfied smile. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. The holidays after that were different. Not magically perfect, mind you. My family is still my family, quirks and all. But something had shifted. The unspoken assumption that I was the designated holiday hostess, the family's personal holiday vending machine, had been shattered. They learned, slowly, grudgingly, but definitely learned, that hosting a holiday takes actual work, effort, planning, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of appreciation. And me? I learned something too. I learned that saying no isn't a crime, that setting boundaries isn't selfish, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your family is to let them scramble. Because sometimes, scrambling is the only way they'll finally understand what you've been carrying all along. And honestly, watching them scramble, it was a pretty sweet Thanksgiving dessert after all.